We all love boxing. We love its grace, its honour, its discipline, what it does for our bodies and what it does for our minds. It's a sport that has purity. When you step into that ring, it comes down to you. Your skill, your passion, your courage, your dedication, your honour, your integrity, and who you choose to have around you. We have a simple message. This is about you and you being honest with yourself and your opponent. Don't cheat, don't dope. England Boxing follows the WADA and UKAD anti-doping rules. If you violate one of these rules, there are serious consequences. You can be banned from the sport, and in serious cases, banned for life from the sport. Keep the sport's honour, keep your honour. Don't cheat, don't dope. The World Anti-Doping Agency and UK Anti-Doping has 11 violations. The first violation is the presence of a prohibited substance in an athlete's sample. This offence is aimed only at athletes, all boxers including competitive and recreational. To check for this offence, an athlete is tested by a UKAD team, independent of England Boxing. They will be made up by a number of people, including a doping control officer, a blood collection officer, and a chaperone. You will be asked to provide a sample of urine or blood. Although urine is the most common type of sample, you must comply with the request made by the doping control officials. They will take the sample away and test it for any banned substances in the lab. This violation means that athletes have the responsibility to ensure that they do not have any substance in their body that WADA has labelled as prohibited. Most samples come back clear, but unfortunately there are some that test positive for a prohibited substance. The results will take around 2 to 4 weeks. It is the athlete's responsibility for what they put into their body or what they do. All the authorities have to prove is that there is a banned substance in the athlete's body. They do not have to prove the athlete's intention to take it, or whether the athlete was careless. This is known as strict liability. It is not a defence for an athlete to claim that someone gave it to them, or that it was not listed on the product label. WADA produces an annual list of substances, the Prohibited List. The global DRO website is very easy to use. You can type in a name and it will interpret the name for you and tell you whether it's on the Prohibited List. This is the website. For boxing, the violations set out 2 different categories of banned substances: prohibited at all times and prohibited in competition. Prohibited in competition means that there is a window that starts 12 hours before a competition and continues right through to the end of that competition. Substances prohibited at all times include anabolic steroids, clenbuterol, peptide hormones, growth hormones, synthetic or mimicking drugs, some muscle relaxing drugs, hormone and metabolic modulators, diuretics and masking agents. You might have heard of some of the substances prohibited in competition. They include some party drugs and strong painkillers, like hydrocortisone and prednisolone, morphine, pethidine, narcotics including methadone or oxycodone, cannabis in whatever form, whether natural or synthetic, stimulants such as amphetamine and cocaine. It is really important to remember that possession of cocaine and cannabis are criminal offences. England Boxing retains the right to take disciplinary action against a member for a positive test result of these substances. The other substances on the list require prescription from a doctor. There is something called a TUE, Therapeutic Use Exemption. This is formal approval from the authorities given on the advice of doctors that the athlete has to take the substance as part of a required medical treatment. This is only for professional and elite athletes. For amateur and recreational athletes, you have to apply for an exemption after testing, with proof from the doctor of the reasons why you have taken this substance. Remember to declare any prescriptions you have taken when you are being tested. The second main offence is the use or attempted use by an athlete of a prohibited substance or a prohibited method. Its aim is to tackle athletes who have not actually taken a prohibited substance, but who are attempting to, by using a prohibited method. The authorities can prove this offence in a number of ways, using evidence from witnesses, admissions by athletes, and documentary evidence. There are 3 methods defined in the prohibited list. The first method is any kind of manipulation of blood or blood components. This is to stop interference with red blood cells, including making it easier and better for the athlete to take in or use oxygen. The second method is any kind of chemical or physical manipulation of a sample, including tampering with or attempting to interfere with samples taken during doping control, or seeking to substitute one sample for another. The third method is gene and cell doping. While this is unlikely to apply to most, this is a method that is increasingly being used at the top end of the sport. The third violation is that of evading, refusing, or failing to submit to sample collection. The most obvious violation is for an athlete not to comply with a request by an anti-doping official to provide a sample. This violation includes an athlete running away, hiding from them, or simply refusing to comply. It is simple really. Politely do what is asked of you. The fourth violation is called the whereabouts violation. This relates only to professional athletes or those at the elite end of the sport. Because of their talent in the sport, they have been added to a list that requires them to send a message to the anti-doping authorities where they will be for a 1-hour period each day. The anti-doping authorities then receive the whereabouts of the professional athlete and can possibly test them in and out of competition. The fifth violation is tampering or attempted tampering with any part of doping control. This violation is aimed at anybody who interferes with the taking, processing, or storage of a sample. It can be committed by anybody, whether an athlete, a coach, an administrator, or support staff. It includes giving false information or tampering with a sample, or paying someone else to tamper with it. The sixth expands on the first 2 violations. It creates an offence of possession of a prohibited substance or a prohibited method. This is a violation that can be committed by athletes or any support personnel, whether a coach, an administrator, or anyone involved in the sport, except medical staff who are properly treating athletes. It is an offence to have a prohibited substance. It is also an offence to use a prohibited method. The seventh violation is trafficking or attempted trafficking in any prohibited substance or prohibited method. This violation applies to a variety of people, including administrators, support staff, coaches, or volunteers. It is a violation for anyone who is actively involved in the sport to traffic prohibited substances or prohibited methods. This means it is a violation to sell, send, deliver, or possess a banned substance. The eighth violation is the administration or attempted administration of any prohibited substance or prohibited method in or out of competition. This violation is designed to capture the support staff that are involved with the athlete that may be aiding or abetting a violation. For example, giving the athlete a banned substance. The ninth violation is complicity, and the 10th violation is prohibited association. Complicity includes anything that assists or encourages someone to commit a doping violation. Prohibited association is meant to stop athletes or coaches from having contact in the sport-related context with someone who has been banned. For example, allowing a boxer who has been banned to participate in the sport. It is an athlete's responsibility to check whether a person involved in the sport is banned for a violation. UCAD and WADA lists online those people, athletes and support staff who are currently banned. As of the 1st of January this year, there is a new offence, The 11th concerns acts by an athlete or other person to discourage or retaliate against reporting to authorities. This is designed to stop anybody from trying to intimidate, threaten, or interfere with someone reporting anything to do with doping. It is also a violation to retaliate against a person who has provided or given evidence. Unfortunately, there has been a number of cases where people have threatened witnesses for giving information or working with the authorities.